It is shaping up to be a scorching April across Nigeria, with temperatures expected to soar as high as 42 degrees Celsius in the north. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, warns of intense heat nationwide, with heightened risk of heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and even disease outbreaks in certain regions. Tonight, we break down what this means for you and how to stay safe, what to expect, and the potential impact on the environment, health, and daily life. Thanks for joining us on Nigeria Today. I am Ikaria Clinton. To discuss the April NIMET weather alert and its implications on health and environment, I have with me here in the studio Dr. Isaac Eboja, who is a public health specialist. It's good to have you once again on Nigeria Today.
My pleasure. Good evening.
And also with us in the studio is Dr. Chimere May Ohajinwa, the team lead C-Circle Research and C-Circle Foundation for Sustainable Health and Environment. She's also an environmental scientist and a public health specialist. It's good to have you on Nigeria Today. Thank you. I'll start with you, Dr. Isaac. NIMET has given the warning, of extreme heat across the country this April. We hear of heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and of course the other time we talked about the heat stress. So talk to us about what all this means and why we should be concerned.
Okay. The normal body temperature is 37 degrees. And during this time when the temperature increases in the environment, inside or outside the house, or wherever you are, the body temperature increases to a point where you become tired, you become weak, you sweat a lot, you may have muscle cramps. That is heat stress or heat exhaustion. If that progresses to a point where it affects your mental status, where you become confused, delirious, irritable, superactive, you may have vomiting, and you maybe become unconscious. That is now heat stroke. And when you have that, it can progress from being unconscious to death. So the most important key things to look out for is the fact that your body temperature has increased, you are losing a lot of water from your system, you are uncomfortable because your body system is not functioning normally.
Okay, now, how serious can this be, really?
It can be very serious. Like I told you, when it progresses from heat exhaustion or heat stress to heat stroke, in which case you become delirious, you become confused, you become irritable, you can vomit, you can become unconscious, and from there, you can die. So it is a very serious condition.
Okay, now, Dr. May, we've talked about, just like Dr. Isaac mentioned, it can be very, very serious to the extent of one losing his or her life in the process. Now, what is really driving this intense heat we are having this month?
Okay, so there are a couple of things that could be driving it. Now, so globally, we are having global warming, and Nigeria is not an exception. And so it might not be as much like that, but what are the things we are doing? If you are having a lot of cutting down of the trees, these things are contributing, because you see, where you have more trees, where you have forests, you have more rain as well. So if you are now cutting it, it's like you are now exposing the soil. So the soil is emitting the little water it has, everywhere is hot. So like you have in the urban areas, we are tying our streets, we are tying the concrete, so they absorb heat and they release it, and then it becomes hotter. So you find out that the cities are going to be hotter than the villages, right? But then, where you have, you've cut down a lot of trees as well that could have provided that cooling effect. it has zone effect. But this is even beyond you having heat stress. The animals that depend if you're losing all of those, animals are running away, they're finding it difficult to survive, plants are finding it difficult to survive. So it has a cycle of how it affects us as a person as well. So it means there are a lot of things we need to do to make sure that we don't get to that point that you're like now running up and down when we don't even have enough health facilities in the first place.
Okay, but before we come down to what exactly we have to do, whether in the short term or in the long, the long term. Now, Dr. Isaac, talking about the heat stroke, talking about the heat stress, the heat exhaustion, and all of that, what should people actually be looking out for?
Well, first of all, what you should be looking out for is the fact that the weather is very hot, you are sweating, you are uncomfortable, you are losing a lot of water through sweating and perspiration, and you may become weak than normal. But sometimes too, the temperature may be high, but you may not be sweating. But that doesn't mean that your body temperature is normal. Your body temperature can be very high, but you may not be sweating. So one has to be careful about that. But the most important thing is the fact that you will know. You will not feel normal. You will not feel strong. Sometimes you may even have muscle cramps. And like I said before, if it progresses further, you become very irritable. Everything irritates you. You become confused. You become delirious. You become like a mad person. You behave like a mad person.
Really? Can you also be feeling, dizzy? Because sometimes after walking under the sun, you feel...
When you lose a lot of water, you become dizzy. Let me talk about this, especially for women who are experiencing menopause. They are prone to increased body temperature at this time. So when there's a change in temperature and the temperature is higher than normal, it increases their own problem because normally their body temperature increases because of hormonal changes in their body. So, and people who also have thyroid problem, you see people with goiter and so on, they have that kind of problem too. People who are diabetic also have that kind of problem. So people who have suppressed immune system could have problem too. So all these factors can contribute to why somebody's body temperature can increase and why the person can get sick and can progress to a point where death can result.
Okay, well, how can we really address some of these issues?
Yeah, okay. On the physical side, make sure that you stay in a cool area, in a cool room or in a cool environment. If there's an air condition, better, so that you stay in an air-conditioned room. But you don't expect everybody to have air condition. But whatever you do and wherever you are, make sure that there's ventilation, that air is circulating around you. That's very important. 2, wear very light clothes, like the one I'm wearing, very light. Clothes that will reflect light, that will not allow light to be absorbed, heat to be absorbed for your body to have increased temperature. That's very important. Drink plenty of water. Plenty of water. Plenty of fluids generally, including juice, fruit juice and so on. But water is the best. Drink plenty of water. And of course, eat fruits like watermelon, like cucumber, or any other fruits that you can find. Fruits generally contain some water, so they're good for you.
Okay, now, Dr. May, earlier on you said you wanted to say something about what can be done in the short term. But before that, according to NIME's warning, it says the North Central, the core North and all of that will be having, intense heat. What could be, like I know you've mentioned, is there a kind of, climate change, pattern that is at play here? That is really, driving this much of heat in these areas?
Yeah, there is to an extent, but also they are both natural and the one that we caused ourselves. May probably even be this high if we had enough trees around. Like doctor was talking about drinking water. Drinking water is also important. If you don't have any need to go out, don't go outside. So that you can prevent yourself from, having access, being exposed to so much heat. So if you need to take your bath more regularly, you take your bath more regularly. Just pour water on yourself, and that'll be fine. Drink a lot of water. Keep water by your bedside, so that in case you just wake up and you want to drink water, just quickly drink the water. Yes, it is. Like I said, you're just having global warming, but also there are a lot of things that we are doing that we shouldn't have been doing. That probably the effects shouldn't have been this much on our side. So like what NIMET is saying, this is like a record-breaking, temperature. We're going to be expecting 42 degrees, which is high. So what are we supposed to be doing now? All the things you already mentioned, to take care of your children, make sure they're drinking water. The elderly people at home, make sure they have access to water. There's water around. If they need to just pour water on your body, just pour water on your body, drink water. Don't go outside if you don't need to. Don't reduce too much exercise if you know you're not taking enough water. Wearing light clothes, all the things you mentioned, have fun around so that you can just cool yourself. So that's one of the reasons why they are promoting planting of trees, because where you have trees, it's going to be cooler. It's taking away the heat, and it's going to be cooler around. So if you are planting a lot of trees, you see the impact is, the benefits is not that you are reaping the benefit, because you just be under the tree enjoying the oxygen, and cooling or taking off the distance. So this hand fan is going to be useful now for people that, like you mentioned earlier. So yes, it is part of it, but also the things that we are also not taking care of our environment, like that awareness. So the awareness is one of the things we are doing right now, trying to make sure that people understand this is important, that we plant these trees because of the impacts. Like I said earlier, it's not just humans. We're not talking about animals. We're not talking about the plants. We're talking about the soil is just a different ecosystem on its own. There are a lot of animals that depend on this soil, and it's been exposed to sun. So what happens? By the time we are done with it, are we going to have food to eat? Because we have to eat. Because it has the effect on soil fertility to be able to produce enough quality food and yield more.
And Dr. May, there's something I've also noticed. I noticed like the grasses, a lot of them are kind of brown. We don't have green grasses.
Yeah, because it's not raining now. It's not raining. It is raining to be. It starts with like
I'm asking. I'm not farmer. I'm asking.
Yeah, because it's not raining. Once it starts raining, then they'll turn green again. So if you need to water them, that'll be fine. But also means that the soil is drying up quick as well. So places where you don't have rivers, the rivers are drying up as well. So what is going to be happening to those people there? So places that you think, oh, they have rivers, but it's warming up as well too. So what's going to be happening, So that's why NIMET is emphasizing on Nigeria, because they don't have as much rivers that you have in the south. Then so you prepare for it.
So are there kind of artificial measures we can use? Because you just said some rivers are drying up.
But we already have boreholes.
Even some of the boreholes are drying up right now. So I know of a neighbor, their borehole is like dried right now. They can't even get water.
It depends on, there are so many factors that could contribute to that. So what was it like, the depths, of course, groundwater is drying up, but also that's why there's the importance of rain, right? Because the rain replenishes the groundwater, and so you can have access to water. So that could be a couple of other issues that actually caused that one that dried up. What happened actually? So if you need to do irrigation to produce our food, if you need to, but this what now is very important, because that awareness is important, that the farmers prepare themselves, the people prepare themselves, and you don't allow them. Your children play unnecessarily. They don't have access to water, or you leave your grandmother in the village, no water, no.
Okay, so talking about the children and the
elderly, yes.
Elderly. Are there some age bracket that special attention should be paid this period?
Yes, people of extreme ages, babies are more prone because their bodies are small, their organs are still developing. Even for adults, our brains, our kidneys, our skin, our heart don't like excessive temperature, especially the brain. So you think of babies with very fragile bodies and organs that are still developing. So special care should be taken of them. And people that are very old, the elderly, also, they are frail. Many of them have chronic problems like diabetes, hypertension, cancer, and so on and so forth. You have to look after them very well. Make sure that they are well hydrated, they are well fed, and that they take their medications too. Very important. If you are not taking your medication and you become dehydrated, then you've multiplied your problem. If you are not eating well and you are weak, you've multiplied your problem. So make sure they eat a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables, things that contain vitamin for them to get some strength and to build their immune system too.
No, okay, talking about the food, are there some kinds of food that one should avoid this period? Maybe?
Well, generally we don't encourage alcohol, for example. And if you take alcohol when the weather is hot like this, you become very dehydrated. I've mentioned this before. Whether it is beer or whatever form of alcohol, alcohol generally is bad for the body. But apart from that, it causes dehydration, especially beer. And I mentioned this before, that when people go, like if you go to the parks now, there are a lot of people there, they open a bottle of beer that is very cold, chilled, and they drink it. And they think that they are hydrating or rehydrating. No, it is not true. One, it is a diuretic. They are going to be urinating more, so they are losing more water. Two, generally when you take alcohol, you lose more water. So whether for general health or for the temporary time that you are there or you are eating, alcohol is not good for you.
What about smoking? Because a lot of persons, you see them even in this heat.
Well, fortunately, in Nigeria, we don't see many people smoking like they used to do anymore, which is very nice. But we would want everybody to stop smoking. And for those who are addicted to a point where they don't want to stop, of course, if there is heat already and you are generating more heat around you by smoking, you are increasing your problem. You are inhaling the smoke. And of course, you are damaging your lungs, which is not good for you. Let me come back also to babies. Mothers that are breastfeeding must make sure that the babies are well breastfed, and they themselves, the mothers themselves, should eat very well, drink plenty of water, take other juices, other fluids like juice, cucumber, watermelon, whatever fruit they can find, let them eat. And let them eat well and be well nourished so that they can take care of their babies.
Now, Dr. May, of course, there's rainfall. Rainfall is expected in the south. Could this come as a relief, or does it pose its own challenge?
So it depends, right? There's so many factors. So if it's coming to the point that we're having flooding, it means farmlands may be washed off. So there could be higher prices for food. It's not just like in the north. So if the soil are drying up, you're not yielding much. If the flood is happening in the south, you're washing off the farms as well. So that means the food prices will go up.
The sound of higher prices of food, we really don't want to hear that, right?
Yeah, but those are some of the things. So like I always say, sometimes we talk about this flooding, but what are the things we are doing to stop it? What's the waste management like? What's the drainage system like? If you are blocking all the drainage system with your dustbin, some people see when it's raining, that's when they'll bring out their dustbin and put inside the gutter. So you're blocking those things, and you have flood, and you run around to say there is flood. But sometimes these things are not just because there's too much flood; it's also because of the things we are not even doing to prevent it before it becomes that big problem, right? So if we are having this, that means we are preparing for it. We are promoting like what we are having now. Planting trees, making sure the drainages are working. If there's irrigation system we're going to use where there is no rain, so that we can start watering the farms and make sure that we have the food prices are stable. So things that will affect the livestock, so that means meat will not be available, the chicken and the goats are dying. So how are we doing, making sure that these things are replenished, right? So places that a NIMET report also talked about having warmer regions in some places like Benue, Kogi, so that means we'll be expecting malaria, having more cases of malaria. So if people know, they're protecting themselves, because you now know that the environment is going to be so conducive for mosquitoes to grow. So you protect it, part of the things that NIMET report mentioned. So if you're having some of those states that we have mentioned, they're preparing some places they mentioned about having flooding, So you're preparing for it, making sure people are not in the floodlights, making sure the drainage systems are opened, making sure that, so that we don't just, degenerate from having this to now having both hunger, this one, that one, that one, that one. No. So the preparation, that's one of the things we're talking about. Another thing the NIMET result mentioned was that in the north there might be some dust storms, sandstorms that might end up causing respiratory diseases, right? So like I said, if you don't need to be outside, you don't need to be outside because of the weather. So that you already know. So it means that if it's going out and it's going to happen, wear your nose mask, wear your goggle, make sure it doesn't affect you because it can cause some respiratory issues as well. Okay.
Now, like Dr. May mentioned, malaria. Of course, it's also part of the NIMET warning that malaria activities, there will be malaria in some parts of, the country because of extreme heat and all of that. So how does extreme heat contribute to, malaria, to, mosquito activities? Because I thought it comes with the rain,
Well, it is not necessarily because of the heat, but because of the fact that people don't stay indoors anymore. They don't close their doors. They go outside to sleep outside, exposed. And even when you are inside, you want to open your doors and windows so that you can get ventilation. And when you open your doors and windows and there are no screens, you are inviting mosquitoes to come in. So you are more exposed to mosquitoes. So it's not only because of the heat. It is because of the exposure that you expose yourself to.
So what kind of precautions can you take to prevent any?
Well, you can use mosquito nets, which is very important. If you are a family, for example, especially the children and the old people, make sure that they sleep under the net, even if they're sleeping outside. A lot of people this time of the year don't sleep inside the houses.
I'm wondering, really, Dr. Isaac, you're talking about mosquito net now that we're talking about extreme heat. It's going to be very, very, very hot, especially when probably there's no light and you are under the mosquito net. I can't.
No, if you're outside, it's not that bad. If you're inside the house, yes. But if you're outside, it's not that bad. Yeah, you can manage. It's not the best, but it's manageable.
No. Now, the north, from the north, there's a lot of meningitis outbreak. Can you explain the link, with the hot weather and the meningitis, and of course, what people should be doing to avert this outbreak?
Okay, meningitis means that the outer covering, the membrane of the brain and the spinal cord is inflamed. What causes the inflammation? Increased temperature. And sometimes what causes the temperature? Infection caused by bacteria or by virus. So when you hear of spinal meningitis, for example, it means that the meninges, the membrane covering the brain, if you remove the skull of the human head, what you see is the outer covering of the brain. If that becomes inflamed as a result of infection caused by bacteria or by virus or whatever, the temperature of the person that is experiencing this has increased, and that's the reason for the inflammation. And so people need to be very careful. And when there are signs of meningitis, which will be irritation, person will become irritable, person will become confused, and can even become unconscious. So, and the body temperature will be very high, of course. So these are things that you look out for. If you touch the person, it's as if they are hitting somewhere inside.
So what should you do immediately if you have somebody?
I mentioned this because, like I said, sometimes your body temperature may be very high, but you may not be sweating. So you need to look out for body temperature, which is a more reliable way of knowing that your body temperature is higher than normal. Don't necessarily look for somebody who is sweating. Yes, for most times, when your body is very hot, you'll be sweating. But there are times also when you may not sweat, but your body temperature is very high. And that could even be more
dangerous. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Isaac Eboja, a public health specialist. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us and your
My
perspective.
pleasure.
And also Dr. Chimere May Ohajinwa is a team lead, C-Circle Research and C-Circle Foundation for Sustainable Health and Environment, and also a public health specialist. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
We should talk about erosion as well. We're expecting that in the Southeast.
Maybe some other time we'll talk about that. And thank you for being part of the program. I'm Ikeria Clinton. Goodbye.